Hello, 6th graders, and welcome to Module 17, which is on geometry. For this module, we will be watching a video and taking notes instead of listening to Mr. Hughes and I up front, giving you all the information. You'll watch the video and write down on the note sheet that you have in front of you. If you notice on 17.1 geometry, there are some boxes of information, making sure that you write in all the information that you see on the slide onto your notes. Once you have your notes completed, and after watching this video, then you will have a worksheet for each section. Alright, so let's get started. 17.1, we're talking about the building blocks of geometry. Our objective today is to learn to identify and describe the building blocks of geometry. So looking at shapes and different parts that make up that, rays and lines and points and things like that. At any time during this video, feel free to pause it so that you can get all the information down, or rewind if necessary. Alright, here's our first vocabulary word that you'll notice is on your chart on the left column. Here's a point. The definition of a point is an exact location in space. Okay? It is usually represented as a dot, but a point has no size at all. On the next column, here is our picture, right? So in the third column of our picture, go ahead and put the black dot there, and notice that there is a capital letter A next to it. To write the point there as our symbol, we write it as point A. So it says underneath there, use a capital letter to name the point. And you'll notice that the word point is in front. Sometimes we put the point, sometimes it's just capital A. Our next vocabulary word is a line. The definition of a line is that it is a straight path that extends without end in opposite directions. Next, you see our picture of a line. We have a line that has arrows going on both ends of the line because we know that a line goes in both directions infinitely. And 2 points make up a line. So here you see point X and point Y are on the line. And to name the line then, our symbol, we use the two letters, and you notice here that they're both capitalized again. And above the letters this time though, there is a line. Right? So we have a line with arrows at the end going in both directions. You'll notice that there are two ways to name the line. So we have line XY, and we can also reverse it, because if we go the other way, if we go X to Y, that is also a line. So line XY, line with arrows on top. Our third one here is called a plane. A plane is a perfectly flat surface that extends infinitely in all directions. You'll notice here is a picture of a plane. Okay, so it's a flat surface, and it holds items. In this case, it is holding point S, point R, and point Q. To name a plane, we actually write the word plane. So you will need to write plane, and then you use 3 points from the plane. And you notice underneath here it says 3 points in any order that are not on the same line to name the plane. So any 3 points that are in this picture in any order, make sure you capitalize them with the word plane in front, and now you have just identified a plane. Alright, so here let's go down to example 1, identifying points, lines, and planes. We have here some items that we need to identify. First of all, let's start with 3 points. We want to name 3 points from this picture. And if we notice on that plane, there are only 3 points listed. So we have points D, point E, and point F. And you notice here we just can name them by using the capital letter. They can be in any order as long as you have 3 of them. Let's go ahead and name 2 lines now. Remember that 2 points are needed for a line, and the line must continue through the points forever and ever. So we can say, here are 2 examples, line DE, so from point D to E, it goes through them. We use capital D, then E. You can reverse it and say line ED. And a second line then is line DF. You can also reverse that and say FD, line FD, making sure that above it you put the correct notation. Name a plane. When we name a plane, we use the word plane to start us off, and then you choose any 3 points not on the same line in any order. In this case, there are only 3 points, so D, E, F. So plane D, E, F, you can reverse it. Plane F, E, D, plane E, D, F, okay, in any order as long as you have 3 of them. Here's another example. Go ahead and pause, take a look at here, see if you can do this. You don't need to write this one down, but take a look here.
Hey students, this is Mr. Hughes. Sorry, Mrs. P got sent down to the principal's office, so I have to take over for a little bit. So we're going to start off by talking about array. Array is a part of a line. It has one endpoint, and it extends without end in one direction. A great example of array would be like a flashlight. Your hand is the endpoint, and that beam of light that extends without end in one direction from your hand is a great example of array. The picture of array is listed just as an endpoint G and H going in one direction. Notice that the symbol we use is a segment with an arrow at one end. You name an endpoint first when naming array. So when you name it, your endpoint has to be listed first. Our next definition is going to be a line segment. And a line segment is a part of a line or array that extends from one end point to another. These have definite endpoints. Notice that our picture is listed as LM, and our symbols are simply a segment over the top of 2 capital letters. Notice there is no arrows at the end because it's simply 2 endpoints that are definitely stopping points. So you use the endpoints to name a line segment. Notice that we can change these capital letters around because we can start at either one of the 2 points. In an example, you see on your notes, as we look at these, you want to identify 3 rays. Okay, and when you do so, we can take any point and extend it in one direction. So if we look here, we can name the endpoint MN going to the right. We can go NM going to the left, and MO going down diagonally. You also need to list 2 line segments, again having 2 endpoints. So use the endpoints in any order to name the segment. We can have MN, NM. You could have MO or OM in anything. You just need to list 2. We're going to go through another example. You don't need to write these down, but we'll take a little time to pause to see if you can name the rays and the line segments. So in the first one, let's name 3 rays. And again, there's going to be more than what's here, but these are just 3 examples of rays. And in the second one, let's name 3 line segments. And again, there's more than 3 line segments in this diagram, but we can just use these examples here.
Phew, Mrs. Peterson's back here. I'm not in trouble with the principal. All right, let's keep going on. Thanks, Mr. Hughes. Figures are congruent if they have the same shape and size. All right, so going back up top there, under congruency, our definition, figures are congruent. They are equal right? If they have the same shape and the same size. All right, so go ahead and make sure you write that down in the definition. So what that means is that if you place one on top of the other, they match exactly. All the line segments are congruent if they have the same length, all right? To do our picture and our symbol, here is a picture that you can draw in your next column of what it looks like if something is congruent. Here we have triangle ABC, and you notice that line segment AB, so from this side of the triangle, and line segment CB, they both are 20 meters. Because they are both the same length, those line segments are said to be congruent. You'll notice that there is a red tick mark on each side. The symbol, the symbol of the congruency are the tick marks. So you'll notice that on your page already, you'll have tick marks. They could have 1 tick mark, 2 tick marks, 3 tick marks, however need to be. The sides that have the same number of tick marks are congruent. All right, let's take a picture here, or take a look at this picture. We have a lot of shapes going on over here. Take a look at this shape over here. We have 1 tick marks, 2 tick marks, 3 tick marks. On your sheet, you have, to identify the line segments that are congruent in the figure, there are 3 lines. So from this picture, we are going to identify all of the line segments that have 1 tick mark, all of the segments have 2 tick marks, and then all of the line segments that have 3 tick marks. We are going to say they are congruent to each other, the ones that have the same number of tick marks. So on the bottom, you'll see here it says that we have a symbol that we're going to use that means congruent to. So we have the 2 equal lines with our little wavy tilde above that, okay? So here we go. Let's start with line number 1 on your notes. What are the line segments that have 1 tick mark? You notice over here, segment AB and segment CD, so here we have from A to B and C to D, they both have 1 tick mark. So on line number 1, we can write line segment, because that's what they are, they're from one point to another. So we're going to put the line above AB because it's a line segment. So segment AB is congruent, so go ahead and put your symbol for congruent, to segment CD. All right, there are only 2 line segments that are congruent to each other, so we are done for line number 1. Line number 2, let's take a look at what has 2 tick marks. We have segment AC now and segment BD. All right, so we started from the top and went down. So to name the other line segment, we're going to start at the point at the top and go down. So segment AC is congruent to segment BD. All right, take a look at the third line, though. Here now we have 3 tick marks. We're going to write everything that has 3 tick marks to it. And you notice there's quite a few. So here we go. Let's get started. Segment BF has 3 tick marks, so that's 1 segment. And that's congruent to segment DF. So we're going back to that F point there. So segment BF is congruent to segment DF. However, if we look on the left side now, we have more. So we're going to keep writing on that sentence, which is congruent to segment EC, which is also congruent to segment AE. So we have 4 different segments that are all equal. We can write it in one big long sentence like that, using our congruent symbol in the middle. All right, here's another example of a picture here. You're matching up the tick marks, right? So we have 1 tick mark, 2 tick marks, and 3 tick marks. All right, so that's where you're identifying. All right, so here we go. We have a worksheet for you to finish today. Make sure you're using your notes. Make sure you have all of the items that you need to have the symbol. Look at your definition again and have it ready for tomorrow.